has done it. They've gone from 15 and 16 to champions of college baseball.
Welcome to the 1,544 Miles to Omaha podcast, talking about the past, present, and future of Cal State Fullerton baseball.
3-2 pitch on Davis is a fastball hit to left and deep. Blazer doesn't even go back on it. It's that far out and gone. Looked like it went over the scoreboard. A home run by J.D. Davis.
0-2 swing and a miss, strike three. Cal State Fullerton is on to the College World Series.
Here's your host, Dave Lamm.
Welcome into episode 79 of the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast. Joining me this week, as he does each week, is the All-American Mike Parisi. We're talking tonight about the recap of TCU, and then we'll also preview a little UC San Diego, and we'll also preview an upcoming podcast of ours, but we won't let out the cat out of the bag just yet in regards to that. So, Mike, how's it going tonight?
It is going well. It's been a crazy busy week, but it's been good. It's been good.
So how are the boys at South Hills doing? Let's do a little high school baseball before we do a little Titan baseball.
Well, there's only two teams left in the 7 divisions from the San Gabriel Valley. You have Division 6, San Marino is playing Campbell Hall, and you have South Hills hosting West Ranch tomorrow. So the 20 years I've coached varsity baseball, this is the first time I've been to the quarters, and I'm hoping to get to the semis.
Well, more importantly, how's our shortstop commit to the Cal State Fullerton Titans doing for South Hills?
I was so proud of his leadership in round 2 of keeping his team focused in a tight ball game early, and he had another good game. He's had 2 great playoff games. And I've always said that the better players need to step up in big games, and he's doing well. Marco Rosales has been great.
All right, so hopefully makes that transition once he gets on campus.
Yeah,
so
he's going to battle for middle infield playing time. You know, I know Maddox Lada's probably come back as a senior, but he would be a great guy to take over when he leaves.
Well, maybe potentially shortstop. Obviously, not getting too far ahead of ourselves, but
true. They're going to give him every opportunity at short, and if they have to move him to second, they'll move him to second. But this kid can pick it, and he can play, and he'll be a perfect Titan.
Outstanding. All right, so let's jump into the TCU series. So the Titans, for the first time this season, had to travel outside of the Pacific time zone. I know in Arizona they were still on the same time zone, so they didn't have to worry about bus lag or jet lag because they're on the same time zone. But this was the first time they had to jump on a plane and fly a little bit of a distance and then deal with any kind of jet lag. Not placing any kind of blame on the weekend performance on jet lag because they came out and they won on Friday, so that would probably be the day that you would experience jet lag. But
right,
a little bit disappointing that they weren't able to perform as well on Saturday and Sunday, but were able to kind of steal a win. If you watch the games, it was a 2-1 victory and steal a win on Friday night. So what are your general overview thoughts on the TCU series?
I mean, I'm glad they got one game out there. I'm sure it was a great experience for them to go fly, get in a hotel, go play at a big-time stadium, big-time program. And, they lost 2 out of 3, but that's fine. They got their experience because they might have to do that in a regional. So they've already done it, and they'll learn from their mistakes. But no, I'm fine with it. I'm glad they got a chance to go out there.
Well, and I think that we all know that Titans are shooting for winning the Big West Conference because that obviously solves a lot of problems, and the fact that win the Big West Conference, you don't have to worry about RPI, you don't have to worry about, will the committee select us or any of that kind of stuff. You win the conference, you get an automatic bid. You're just waiting around on that Memorial Day to find out where they're going to put you. Clearly, the Titans aren't in a position to host a regional. Maybe the administration is going to put in a bid for the off chance, much like in 2018, have a bid in the NCAA's hands so that if you do get the off chance of hosting a regional and the other team that's in the super regional with you hasn't submitted a bid, much like the University of Washington didn't do in 2018, then I'm sure that the administration is probably has that experience and are doing that. But the realistic chances of the Titans hosting a first round regional is pretty slim. But they're still focused on that Big West championship. The RPI didn't drop to the point where Titans are sitting at 42 going into the TCU series, and even though they were 1-3 over the course of the 3 games against TCU and then the one midweek against UCLA, they essentially stayed the same. Yes, they jumped a little bit after that Friday night win at TCU.
Right.
I think they jumped up to like 38 or 39 or something like that. But then they came back down to 42, which is where they were right around this time last week. So what does that say to a team that is on the longest losing streak that this Titan team has had at 3 games? What does that say about a team that is sitting pretty stagnant, status quo where they were last week on the RPI?
I just think people are looking at them like a serious contender. I mean, they deserve to be in a regional. They deserve to compete, and they've been playing great. And one bad weekend against a good program on the road isn't going to deteriorate that at all. So, now let's see what we can do against UC San Diego. And we didn't play well. We haven't played well these last 3 games offensively. So we got to check ourselves a little bit and get back on track.
And in the Thursday Thoughts that I'm going to publish later on this evening, pointed out that pretty much over the last 4 games, including, actually dating back to the Sunday game at Northridge, is that the Titans really haven't, the offensive bats have kind of gone silent to the point where Caden Connor was pretty much the only one that was hitting out there in Fort Worth and actually continued to hit at UCLA. But everybody else, I mean, it was pretty bad. It was really, really bad to the point where
it looked like it.
Yeah, I mean, I put up on Twitter. I didn't even put it up for a vote for the batter of the week because I knew that it was going to be a complete and total runaway for Caden Connor. I mean, he went 8 for 16, obviously a 500 batting average, 2 runs, 2 RBIs, a walk, 3 Ks in 3 games at TCU, and then the one at UCLA. Everyone else, you remove Caden Connor's stats from the team batting average. Everybody else went 14 for 110 and was batting 130 with 32 strikeouts.
That is rough. 32 strikeouts. How many walks did we get?
I'd have to take a look.
I bet you it wasn't very many. I mean, looking at the UCLA game alone, I think we only got 3 hits when they staffed it compared to what we did to them last time. Sort of, tables were turned a little bit.
Yeah, and speaking about that UCLA, what was it? John Vaughns, who's normally a position player, he came out and threw a scoreless inning. I don't even think a Titan reached when John Vaughns was on the mound. So not to try to rub salt in the wound here, but it's like, man, oh man, you bring in a position player, a la MLB style.
He was a very good high school pitcher at St. John Bosco.
Oh yeah, he was. I mean,
I know, but Division I's a different story. But I get you. I'm sure he convinced Savage that, hey, give me an inning in. Maybe I could light up the radar guns and help my draft stock. Who knows?
Well, when you were talking about the walks and what the walks looked like, speaking of that, Moises Guzman, he's actually walked in 16 straight games.
Wow.
So talk about some plate discipline and taking a pitcher in deep counts. Entering the TCU series, he had a 12-game walk streak. He got 1 walk in each of the 4 games, so 3 at TCU, 1 against UCLA. And now he has a 16-game on-base streak, all via walks, which, so that's probably one of the reasons why he was hitting top of the lineup all weekend and also out there at UCLA.
I'm curious to see what lineup they use this weekend versus UC San Diego. But you got 3 weekends to go, and they're 2 games up on Santa Barbara going into these 3 final weekends?
Well, it's coincidental that you brought that up because I was about to bring up the fact that I was calculating magic numbers here. So the good news is if you're going to have a cold streak like the Titans are on, and hopefully they're going to be able to snap it coming on Friday against UC San Diego. The good news is that it came against TCU and UCLA. So those 4 games, you've got 4 non-conferences. So yes, RPI comes into play, and we've already talked about the fact that that's unchanged. But the conference record, which is what we're all talking about here, has remained unchanged. So if you're going to go cold, that was the weekend to go cold on, because you don't want to necessarily, rack up three losses and 3 losses in a row when you're playing in the conference series. So the magic number, and I was doing some math, is 7. So over the next 3 weekends, so 9 games.
9 games.
Total conference wins.
You think 7-2 guarantees? Well, I think the Big West Conference, actually it would, because you're saying if Santa Barbara were to go 9-0 and Fullerton beat them 2 out of 3, Fullerton will win the Big West.
So essentially what would happen is because 7 would win it outright. So straight up 7 wins, or a combination of 7, whatever the combination is, wins and losses.
How does 7-2 and Santa Barbara go 9-0? They would be tied for the Big West Conference, and they'd be co-champs.
Correct, but they would get the tiebreaker because UC Santa Barbara, the Titans beat UC Santa Barbara 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. So the head-to-head tiebreaker would go.
Yeah. I'm curious in 94, because in 94, there was a 3-way tie between Nevada Reno, where Savage was the pitching coach, Long Beach State, and Cal State Fullerton. We all tied for the Big West Conference. And all 3 went to a regional.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the tiebreaker was to who got the conference title. If everybody was tied, but there had to be some sort of a tiebreaker to determine who's number 1, number 2, number 3.
Well,
so
it wouldn't have been us, because we lost to Reno 2 out of 3, which was brutal, and we lost to Long Beach 2 out of 3 that year. I mean, we were dominating the Big West Conference till those final 3 weeks. So hopefully that doesn't happen to the Titans this year, even though we did get to Omaha, and those 2 teams didn't get to Omaha that year.
Yeah, so I mean, the Titans control their own destiny when it comes to winning the Big West Conference. I mean, if they win the next 7 games, no matter what UC Santa Barbara does, they're going to win it outright. No problem.
Correct.
So the magic number is actually technically, because of the tiebreaker, it could technically be 6, because if the Titans win 6, and depending on if Santa Barbara wins out or whatever it happens to be, there would be that tiebreaker. But 7 outright would definitely win it all.
We get UC San Diego at home, we get Long Beach State at home, and we go to the road to a struggling Cal Poly SLO. What does Santa Barbara have on those final 3 weekends?
Well, I can tell you exactly what that looks like. So
beautiful.
Writing about this in the Thursday Thoughts for tonight is Cal State Fullerton fans, and now I know all the Fullerton fans that are listening to this, choke back a little bit of the vomit or the bile that's kind of coming up, but we got to be dirtbag fans this weekend. And I know that hurts, and I know we don't want to do it, but UC San Diego has a 3-game series at Long Beach, out at Blair, and then they've got
Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara's at Blair this weekend.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, UC Santa Barbara's at Long Beach.
Okay.
They have a midweek against Cal Baptist. That really doesn't matter. That doesn't factor into the standings whatsoever. Then their weekend, when we play Long Beach, Cal Poly will be playing UC Santa Barbara up in Santa Barbara, and then Santa Barbara finishes on the Rock at Hawaii to finish out the season in Honolulu.
That's not going to be easy going to Hawaii. Santa Barbara has a couple losses in them. I like these final 3 weeks. This is going to be exciting.
When it comes to this weekend, I know some of the Titan fans will be scoreboard watching and taking a look at what's going on out there at Blair Field and seeing how the Gauchos and the Dirtbags are doing. So, okay, so technically, highly unlikely, but technically, the Titans could clinch the Big West Conference this weekend, because if Long Beach sweeps UC Santa Barbara,
that's not going to happen.
Right, but let's talk in hypotheticals, pie in the sky. Yes. Like, hey, we're playing a lottery ticket here. If Fullerton can sweep UC San Diego, and if Long Beach can sweep UC Santa Barbara, that could pretty much just tie it up, just wrap the whole thing up right then and there. However, with the likelihood of what's going to happen against UC San Diego, and then obviously out there in Long Beach with the Gauchos, Titans could technically clinch against Long Beach next weekend, depending on what happens this weekend between all four of those teams, rendering the final weekend up at Cal Poly useless or meaningless in the fact that when it comes in the standings, obviously you're going to want to win those games because it's going to help RPI, it's going to help with seeding when it comes to the postseason. But when it comes to actually clinching the Big West, that potentially could make the Cal Poly series up in San Luis Obispo meaningless when it comes to winning the Big West. So
my early prediction is going to be Fullerton needs to win one game in Cal Poly slow, and they're celebrating. For some reason, that's going to be my prediction. All I got to do is take one out of Cal Poly slow. But let's win this series here, and we'll talk more about it when there's 6 games to go.
Yeah, I would say looking at Santa Barbara's upcoming schedule and what the Titans have, if the Titans keep on winning Big West series, keep on winning 2 out of 3, it probably won't matter what UC Santa Barbara does because they're probably gonna drop at least one against Long Beach or Cal Poly or Hawaii. I don't think they're going to continue to sweep all 9 of those games.
No, I think Long Beach gets them one game. I think Hawaii gets them one game for sure. I don't know about Cal Poly slow going to Santa Barbara. So I see it for sure at least 2 losses. So that's just what I think.
No, I'm with you. So for the Titan fans out there, you gotta figure it out and figure out how to mentally wrap your head around being a Long Beach State Dirtbag fan this weekend. But after that, trust me, it's going to be status quo. It's going to be back to normal because the Dirtbags are going to be coming into Goodwin. So we'll see how that works out.
I'm going to be at a couple of those games for sure. I can't wait. I got a bunch of alumni from Fullerton, and I got some old buddies from Long Beach that are excited to talk smack. So it's going to be exciting.
Well, before we sign off, and I know we're not there yet, but we are going to preview one of the podcast Twitter spaces that we're going to be doing next week, having to deal with that upcoming Long Beach series. So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag just yet. Listen to the end of the podcast because we're going to preview something that we think is going to be pretty excitable and pretty special. But looking into, before we start previewing UC San Diego, any other thoughts coming out of Fort Worth, TCU series, and the UCLA series?
No. I mean, I talked to Coach Dietrich for a little bit, and, he's like, hey, they outplayed us, Saturday and Sunday, and, we took it in the chin, and we're excited to get back to conference and get home and learn from that. But our team's feeling really good about themselves, and we just got to stay focused. They are focused, not on Santa Barbara. That's the last words that are coming out of their mouths. But for us as fans and all that, we think ahead. They're focused on UC San Diego and going for a sweep, and it's going to start with Friday.
Yeah. I mean, it's just unfortunate that, the Titans were on such a really, really good run to the point where all the way back to February against Texas, they had won at least a minimum of 2 out of 3 on those weekend series. Obviously, the 3 sweeps against Davis, against Riverside, against Bakersfield, those really, really helped. But, winning 2 out of 3 and winning those, 2 out of 3 gets you to Omaha type style of baseball. It's unfortunate that the streak ended. But, hey, they can always, win 2 out of 3 and continue a streak and continue on to the end of the season. But it was a little bit unfortunate, and I know, hopefully Titan fans aren't hitting the panic button about, oh my gosh, we lost a series or whatever it is. I mean, hey, if I can speak from the heart, unfortunately, yes, we did lose that series, but at the same time, consider where we've come, where we as a program, the Titan program, has come since going to a super regional in 2018. And a lot of fans would say, hey, if at the beginning of the season we'd say, hey, we're entering into middle of May, we're going into Mother's Day weekend with a magic number, even talking about the potential of winning the Big West, I think all fans would would ask you for a drug test, because they would be like, well, hey, considering what's been happening recent history. So, let's keep things in perspective, that this program is still rebuilding, and they're on a pretty good trajectory. Let's not put too much pressure out there.
I mean, and any good baseball player that's been coached by good coaches have been taught you have to have a short-term memory in baseball. Whether you had a great series or a bad series, whether you pitched well, you didn't pitch well, whatever it is, it's a short-term memory. You flush it, right? At Fullerton, we used to have a little tiny toilet. You flush it, it's over with, you move forward. All they're thinking about is this weekend, and I'd like to know if when was the last time Fullerton's ever won every weekend conference games? And won the series. That'd be pretty good to know, because if they win these next 3, they have won every one, correct?
Well, yeah, they'll have to go 2 out of 3 for the next 3 weekends for them to have won every single conference weekend.
Yeah, we never did that during our 3 years. I know that. And maybe they did that in 95. I'm sure they did in 95, but I like to know when the last time that's happened, and I'm hoping they do it.
That'd be awesome. That would be a tremendous feather in the cap for not only the players but this coaching staff, to be able to, have turned things around to the point where you win 2 out of 3 or even more.
Right.
Sprinkle in a few of those sweeps in there. But
right.
So yeah, looking at UC San Diego, they're currently 15-9 in the Big West. They were leading there for a while there, and for the uninitiated, or for those that don't follow college baseball as closely, they were thinking that, UC San Diego could potentially win the Big West and go to the postseason. Well, UC San Diego is still in that transition period of going from Division II to Division I. And I think this is their final year, but I think this is the final year that they're ineligible. So games against UC San Diego count against your win-loss record and count against you in the standings. But when it comes to, even if UC San Diego did win the Big West, they're not going to be able to go to the regionals. The next best team would be able to go. So, but they're currently third, 15-9 in the Big West overall. They're 27-18, so a very similar record to the Titans. And last year played down there. They're coming to Cal State Fullerton. They're coming to Goodwin this weekend. But they've had themselves a pretty nice season, in the fact that the previous weekend, they were hosting CSUN, so they lost, unfortunately, 2 out of 3, but they did have a sweep at Cal Poly. So I don't know if that speaks more volumes to the fact that Cal Poly might be down, or that UC San Diego is that good. So talking about some common opponents here, UC Santa Barbara, they actually got swept by UC Santa Barbara, team that Cal State Fullerton won 2 out of 3 against them.
Yep.
But they got off to a pretty good start, to the point where before they started conference play, they started a pretty good win streak. So their final non-conference, which was back in March 10th, was they played 3 against Northern Colorado, won all 3 of those. Then they played UC Riverside in a midweek. I want to say that was probably one of those non-conference type of deals. And then they opened conference play by sweeping Long Beach State. They swept Cal State Bakersfield. They had a midweek against San Diego State, crosstown rival, won that midweek, and then they also opened up the series against at UC Irvine and won that one. So I mean, UC San Diego was on a heater, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They had a 12-game winning streak from March 10th to the end of March. So March 31st is when that UC Irvine game. So once April started, they started, they're kind of up and down. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see what they look like here.
What other Friday, Saturday, Sunday pitchers look like record-wise and stuff?
Well, I'll take a look at some of the individual pitching stats and do a quick search for UC San Diego when it comes to the leaders. And let's see here. I'll do a quick search here. UCSD. So with pitching, they're really not showing up in any of the pitching stats for any of the leaders. We're talking for earned run average, opposing batting average, innings pitched, batters struck out. I mean, any of those, UC San Diego is just not showing up. So
Right.
I guess their pitching might not be the best. Let me take a look as a team, what they're doing as the, as pitchers, and I don't think they're doing all that great. So when it comes to their ERA, pitching wise, they rank kind of middle of the pack, fifth. They're at 4.66, just above the 5.01 Cal State Fullerton. So, the pitching woes for Cal State Fullerton have been well documented. So they're just about a little bit less than a half of a run earned run average above Cal State Fullerton. When it comes to their fielding, they're middle of the pack too. They're ranked 6 when it comes to fielding percentage, and then batting, they're also middle of the pack. They're 5th, batting .276. They're just above Cal State Fullerton's .273. So they're middle of the pack when it comes to statistical. So something that you would imagine being the third place team and Cal State Fullerton's number 1. They're pretty comparable. So this looks like it's going to be a pretty evenly matched game, even though it's going to be up at Cal State Fullerton's field.
Right. And we got Stoltz going Friday. He had a great outing at TCU, but he's been a little inconsistent. So we don't know what Stoltz we're going to get, but we hope that when he's at home, he's a little more comfortable.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought that up about Tyler and the fact that it's kind of crazy in the fact that it seems like he has a good one and then he has a bad one, and then a good one and a bad one. So I'm kind of fearful that this Friday, now that he had a really, really good one on Friday out at TCU in Fort Worth, that now here comes the bad one. And I'm not saying
Right.
that it's 1 for 1, 1 for 1, 1 for 1, but the pattern kind of is scheduling is kind of working out that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and Hinkle wasn't very good out of the bullpen, and Jason Blood struggled against UCLA. So some of these arms, who's Dietrich going to go to? I mean, JoJo's been solid all year round, so he's getting the ball twice this weekend.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like I'm looking at the game log for Stoltz, and obviously for TCU, he had a good outing. He went 6 innings and only gave up 1 earned. But the previous week against Cal State Northridge, 6 innings, but he gave up 7. And then Friday against Bakersfield, he went 7 innings, gave up 5, still got the win though. UC Riverside, he went the full 9 and only, I believe, gave up 2. And then Santa Barbara was a disaster because I believe that was the one where either tipping pitches or they were stealing pitches or something like that.
Right.
So that was a disaster. But then the Friday against Hawaii, he went 5, gave up 5 runs. UC Davis, he went 8, gave up 2 runs. So it's one of those things where, it was 2 runs. So it's kind of like one of these ups and downs. I mean, UC Irvine, 7 innings, gave up no runs. So it's kind of like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of thing with Mr. Stoltz. So hopefully we get the good Stoltz on Friday against San Diego.
Yeah, I believe in him. I think he's going to give him a quality start. He's ready. He knows how big this game is. He has 3 huge Big West Conference starts left. He needs to step up.
Titans are done with the midweek games this past weekend, or this past, Tuesday against UCLA was the final midweek non-conference game. So now it's just weekend conference series from here on out. Obviously, we've already previewed a little bit about UC San Diego, but then the following week, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, is Long Beach. But you and I, for the past couple of weeks, have been talking about the potential of a podcast, Twitter space, having a large conversation about something previewing that Long Beach State series. So do you want to let the cat out of the bag and let people know what they need to get looking forward to?
Absolutely. I think the topic was, and for you people listening, is research the 1993 Friday night game. We had a big brawl between Fullerton and Long Beach State. And so I have some friends who are on that team, and I've reached out to them. And, we were number 2 in the nation. They weren't even ranked. And I was 7-0 going in that game. And it was a big brawl in the second inning. It was great. And we're going to have some guys talking about that. And it'll be exciting.
Yeah, so for those that either are new Titan fans and weren't born yet, or were just, because obviously you and I were going to college at the same time. I was there and watching the whole thing, and I'm not going to give too much away. We're going to have to encourage people to listen to it. But I'm really excited to hear the three different sides and the three different perspectives of how that went down. I'm very interested to hear from the Fullerton guys. I'm very interested to hear from the Long Beach players that were on the field and involved in it. And then I can provide a little bit of perspective of a fan that was in the stands. Now, my memory might be a little bit foggy because, let's face it, this was my 4th year in college, and tailgating and beer sales being what they were for a college senior might be a little bit,
I mean, it's pretty ironic. This is going to be the 30-year reunion when it comes to it, which is for 30 years. So what is our memory like? I'm sure we're all going to have different stories, but they're all going to be good stories.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to share too much and say what I remember from that. But can you kind of give a little bit of sneak peek of some of the Titans that you've already kind of rallied to see if they can come on, and then some of the dirtbags that you can come on?
Brett Hemphill was the catcher. I was the pitcher. Brett Hemphill, I think, is going to be on there. I'm almost positive. Their catcher was Brian Watley. I think he coaches pro ball somewhere. The guy who got, the cheap hit, Ballskin, he's going to be on there. And I'm working on getting some other guys on there that would love to be talking about it.
Yeah, and I'm going to work on trying to find a few more. And the only way that we're able to do this is through Twitter Spaces, because it's going to be kind of like a big conference call or Zoom meeting or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And
it wouldn't even be bad to get George Horton's perspective on it, because he was one calling pitches that game.
You know what? I'll reach out to George and see if he can jump on at that time. So we're going to schedule it for next Tuesday. I know Andy Wise he's now the head coach over at Corona High School.
Yeah, he has a big playoff game. I want to say Tuesday. Well, they play Friday. They're still in the playoffs in D1. But Andy Wise for sure would be a good one too. Yeah,
I know he was a dirtbag on that team. And, so we're going to try to rally the troops and see how many people we can get on the Twitter Spaces. So if you're listening to this and you're not on Twitter, we encourage just go register for an account and, go get on Twitter. That way, the reason why we're encouraging that is because we'll record it. We'll make sure that we turn it around and put it on the podcast for all those that are listening now. But at the same time, who knows what's going to be said? And who knows what's going to be available for broadcast? And I know podcasts being what they are, you don't necessarily have to follow FCC guidelines, and you don't have to necessarily have to hit that dump button, 8-second delay or whatever it is. But if you want to hear it go down live, we would definitely suggest tuning in on Twitter Spaces. So we're gonna see how many different guys and perspectives we can get in on that one. Obviously was Dave Snow? Was Dave Snow the head coach of the Dirtbags at the time?
The head coach. Fullerton and Long Beach, I don't know how it's changed now, but they were the similar programs. Everyone recruited the same players. Everybody needed key JC players. And then you hope for a few diamond in the roughs that helped your program out. And it was just a lot of fun. Yeah,
this is anybody that I kind of talked to about this has said, "Oh my gosh, that is a must listen type thing." So we're gonna do it to it. We're scheduling it for next Tuesday. So we're gonna schedule it Tuesday in the evening sometime. So get on Twitter. So we're talking May 16th, Tuesday in the afternoon, evening. We'll figure out what's going to work best for everybody's schedule, and then be able to do it. But go to Twitter, get an account if you don't already have one, and then mark your calendar for the 16th, because this is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I agree. I'm excited for that one, and I'm excited for this weekend. So we're good. Let's get this weekend going. And gosh, tomorrow's the game already. We got a big quarterfinal game with Rest Ranch and Fullerton, UC San Diego.
Thanks for listening to the 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast. Feel free to visit our website, CalStateOmaha.com, While there, you can order an official Cal State Omaha t-shirt from the merch store. Make sure to view the show notes to learn more about today's guest and to follow them on social media. The 1544 Miles to Omaha podcast is an On the Lam Enterprises production and is not affiliated with Cal State Fullerton or Titan Baseball.